I remember the first time a video of mine worked. I was sitting in my underwear, drinking some coffee, and I just had this surge of energy hit me as I was seeing the likes, the comments, the engagement, just everything skyrocket on a video I had posted a few days before. But underneath this rush of energy and excitement, there was a way darker feeling kind of lingering there. The more that I rewatched that video, the more it became clear that I hated the person I saw in this video. I had made something that pleased the algorithm machine and it all was working, and this was my reward. And it just felt incredibly pathetic. And watching myself over and over again was really tough because this guy on the screen was really polished. He didn't match my real personality. And honestly, it just felt like more of this weird vessel of information than a human being that I was watching. And it just fucking sucked, to be honest with you. And after rewatching enough times, I started to realize I wasn't making videos that I actually liked. I was making videos that I thought would work. And if you do that long enough, you just end up losing yourself altogether. What I'm about to say next might sound dramatic, but I think it's actually really true. When creators niche down, it is an inherently dehumanizing act. And also, it's super cringe for future you to have to look back on. But here's what I mean. You're slicing yourself up into all these little slivers of who you are and specific interests you have or skill sets you have, all to fit into this tiny algorithm approved box. And when you do that enough times, you really start to lose the full picture of who you are as a full person. And here's the thing, it's not your fault. I don't even blame myself for doing that because I'm just figuring out what works online. But what I hadn't grappled with was maybe what works isn't actually what I want. And it's on me to figure out what I actually want and then shape my creativity around that. The internet rewards niching down. It pays to be the blank guy. Choose your niche. But there is a big price tag hidden in the fine print of signing up for that type of creative output. Now, after participating in this creative rat race, for a few years now, and even figuring out a lot of ways how to win it, I am stepping out. It's not because I'm burnt out. It's not because I'm tired. It's because I'm embarrassed. I'm embarrassed to chop real parts of myself away to please an algorithm. That's super embarrassing to me. And I don't think I'm alone in this. I think there have kind of been 6 avatars or 6 types of niche creators over the past 10 or 15 years. I want to go over each one, and maybe you can identify with 1, 2, or many of the buckets that this might fit for you. I know myself, I fit into a lot of these buckets at different periods, some of which I'm not proud of. So I'll start with the very best case scenario, in my opinion, for niche creators. You are a boss. So what does this mean? These folks treat content as a marketing channel for their business or assets that they own that are generating them money. They look at content creation as one tool in the tool belt of many things they use to generate wealth and freedom in their life. Their identity, their net worth is not really tied that closely to their content creation online because they've built substantial assets outside of this world that are a little bit more sturdy and give them maybe a little bit more meaning and purpose. Content creation is a side gig that maybe helps or benefits their businesses, but is not the end all be all for their businesses. That's best case scenario 1. Best case scenario number 2 is to transcend your niche altogether. A creator might start in a certain niche, but then over time expand the topics and the subject matter that they cover in their content. And I think this is really great for the creator if they can pull it off and they don't lose their audience interest over time. But this has downsides for audiences. The obvious example, which is weirdly not uncommon, is when you start out as a comedian on social media and over time you do enough podcasts and you actually think you're like a scientist or a doctor or something. That's not great for audiences, but it is good for the creator. The creator on the other side of that, if they can pull it off and transcend the original niche they started in, then it's great. Then you can just chase your interest and talk about whatever you want. There are potential downsides for the audience in that equation, but we're not really talking about the audience right now. We're talking about the creator. So transcending the niche is a really good thing if you're able to pull it off and you're not getting crazy with what you talk about. So those are the 2 best case scenarios. This next one is one that I've personally gone through multiple times, and I think most people probably hit this wall, and it's what I'm calling the newbie crash. Our mind compared to the internet runs in dog years. A single year on the internet, you're going to hit 7 or 8 different trends, moments, whatever, that are going on online. And so if a new niche creator is a year or maybe 2 in, you're kind of actually like a lot of years in. You start out with so much energy, make so much stuff so quickly, and maybe you see a little bit of success that keeps you driven forward. You're going to actually burn out way quicker than you think because you've actually been operating in dog years. And so what would maybe, a normal job 40 years ago, it would take you 20 years to get burnt out. I would say you could probably get burnt out online in 5 years now because our minds are racing and we're generating so much volume. So that's the newbie crash. So the next creator is the one I call the sad circus. Basically, this creator starts out as a normal person excited to make things online, but they get so wrapped up in the metrics, in chasing follower count, that they actually kind of abandon who they were before, and they like anamorph into this weird cringy creator persona in their full life, which creates a really kind of sad person. And you've probably met these people. I've met these people where, you shake their hand, you're having a conversation with them, and they're kind of like looking over your shoulder to see if there's someone more important or someone who will further their career more than you will. It's just a very desperate and cringy persona. And I think this happens by chasing metrics endlessly online through the years. All right, second to last one, the escape plan that goes wrong. So say a creator's been doing something for a while, they gain some success. They might try to find a successor to their platform. They might try to create a bigger media company for their platform. And who loses in that situation is the audience. The audience doesn't want a successor to the original person. They don't want a big media platform because they enjoyed the person's content in the beginning. So you burn yourself out, and then you want to hit the escape hatch to get out of there. And the only people who suffer in that are the audience. And then you start seeing your numbers go down. And then you have to revert back to that same starting point where you're just burning yourself out. That is the escape plan gone wrong. And the last one is the one we have all seen from some of our favorite creators here on YouTube specifically, is the, hey guys, I know it's been a while since I've posted. They vanish slowly or all at once. The niche that originally gave them their start has now become a prison of their own making. They burn out and they disappear. They've essentially created an unsustainable environment for themselves to exist online. That happens all the time. I've seen it a million times. Some creators have managed to figure out a balance after hitting this wall, but it's more common that people just fall off the face of the planet because of those dog years, because they've done it for way longer than you actually think you've been doing it internally. Your volume's been high enough. You burn out. So with all those personas, what do we do now? What do we do with all this information? And my advice will not get you engagement, will not get you followers. It will not get me engagement. It will not get me followers. But it is the truest advice I can give myself. If more people switch their behavior this way, it will incentivize platforms to reward this behavior. Reject the algorithm altogether. Reject the idea that you need to fit in an algorithm at all. You need to make what you want to make. And eventually the right people will find it. There's a critical mass of people on all the platforms you want to spend time on. Invest heavily in the places you want to be. Reject the places you don't want to be. Make stuff that you think is cool, and the right people will come. The algorithms are getting good enough to where the right people will find you at the right time. This is what I'm doing. I'm off Instagram, off Twitter, and investing into YouTube and Substack, because those are the two platforms I like spending time on. I don't feel bad having spent time on either of those places, the same way I feel horrible after a doom scroll on Twitter. But not being in those places is costing me growth. It's costing me audience. It's costing me, I'm leaving growth on the table. But I'm willing to make that trade-off because I want to play the long game with what I make. I want to look back on the things I make forever and not cringe at them. I want to look back on the things I make and say, like, yeah, I've grown since then, but at least he showed up in an honest way at that moment in his life. That's what I want to do, and that's how I want to show up online. We have now hit this point with AI and everything happening where the only thing that will cut through now is authenticity. Making up who you are to fit an algorithm, all that slop and bullshit won't work anymore because the AI slop will eat you alive. It'll be way more tailored to what people want their slop to be. But if people just want to hang out with real people, you have a way better shot at just being yourself. I want to give one analogy, and it's from my buddy Drew. We were having this really interesting conversation around niching down and creators, and Drew looked over at me and he was like, man, do you know what modern influencers and modern creators, they kind of have the same energy as hair metal bands from the 80s. And he's referring to the influencers and creators of now, they look like the glam bands from the 80s. And then he said, Kurt Cobain is coming. And I fully agree with him. Right now is our Kurt Cobain moment for the internet and for algorithms. We don't have to play the stupid game, put on the shiny, tight pants and the makeup and all the stuff that hair metal bands did. And modern influencers feel the need to do to win the algorithm. We can start rejecting all of that now. There are enough people on the platforms you want to be in who want the real version of you. So I just say reject the algorithm altogether moving forward and approaching content creation a little bit more like Kurt Cobain did when hair metal was really big, entering that battlefield with a little bit more of a authentic lens and rejecting what was common knowledge at the time. That's how I want to approach my content creation moving forward. Will I lose growth? Will I lose potential on my platforms or whatever? Yes, I will. And so will you if you take this advice. But I would bet money that if you followed this in 10 years, you will feel so much prouder of who you were when you made it. You'll feel so much more real with yourself for how you made it than if you were to just keep pretending, putting on the makeup and the tight pants or whatever the metaphor is now for influencers, the filters that we put on in order to be something you're not online. I saw myself succeeding online. I was doing what worked and I hated it. It didn't feel good. I felt like I had really disappointed and abandoned myself. I want us to leave this video with this idea of rejecting niching down as a creator because it is an inherently dehumanizing act. Do not cut off parts of who you are to please an algorithm. It is not worth the trade.